And now we will start to have an introduction, and everybody, all the candidates will introduce themselves and have a short introduction in 1.5 minutes. And I try to be very fast here and be very precise to give you only 1.5 minutes, so we will go through the whole agenda. And I will start with Neera from the Feminist Party. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, so my name is Neera Vichidowski. I have lived in Finland for 21 years now, but I moved here when I was 11 from then Yugoslavia. I'm not of any ethnicity that you are most likely familiar with. I belong to a very, very small ethnical group. But I speak Serbian as a formal mother tongue. I have lived indeed since I was 11 in Finland, and I have always felt that I have huge need to be helping with the decision making and help make the city and Finland nicer for all of us. And I have felt that I haven't seen yet in the mainstream the discussions that I would really like to see about all of us, not only about integration and moving to Finland and all of these things. So now it feels like I have an actual mandate, and that I'm not just speaking to myself and ranting to my friends, and therefore I am very grateful to be here and show you the views of the Feminist Party that I feel are really necessary in the Helsinki municipality board team altogether. Do I still have time?
10 seconds.
All right, I have 3 themes, which are the role of an immigrant or a Finnish person who was not born here. My theme is about youth and mental health and about well-being of citizens altogether. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And next we go in alphabetical order. So the next one is Eli. You will say your surname yourself. So please, Eli.
Yes, thank you. My name is Eli El Kouri. I born in Lebanon, Beirut. I am a diploma engineer in construction. I have been involved in many political, culture, and volunteer activity in Finland. So in addition, I have been working in many different places, also in Helsinki, as a business advisor out more than 15 years. I am married, father of 4 children. Now I am a chairman of the Western Helsinki Department for Christian Democrat, and also I am the vice chairman of the Helsinki Party for Christian Democrat. Security of the Christian Democrat Council. My position of trust is deputy nowadays. I used to have many things before, but now I am a deputy member of the Social Health Committee of Helsinki City. And also I am deputy of a member of the Consumer Advisory Board for the Ministry of Economy and Fair Employment. A vice chairman of the Caritas Finland. My hobbies is reading, outdoor activity, and also I am a vice president for Lions Club. So that's shortly about mine, but I will tell you my slogan little. My slogan is in Finnish, Hyvä Helsinki kaikin ikäisille. But in English, it's a good Helsinki for all people or all inhabitants. That's shortly. I am in time or more, or I?
No, the time was there.
Okay, that's good.
Very precise. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. You're welcome.
And the next one up is Juhani, and from Liike Nyt, please.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon all. My name is Juhani Klemetti, and I'm the Secretary General of Liike Nyt Movement Now Party. And thank you for the invitation and organizing this panel, first of all. I have several years of experience in immigration. I have worked in the Finnish Immigration Service for several years as a senior advisor, and then in few Finnish embassies in India and in Thailand, also in field of immigration, and then in the Thailand and Myanmar border with Karenni refugees, and then refugee camp also. I have been involved in voluntary work there. So I see that the key to the integration is work. Being part of the work environment means having friends, being part of the society and learning language and in work and in practice. What do we need in order to have that is more international work markets here in Finland? We need more flexibility in the job markets. And also what I would like to see in the future is more women's participation also from the immigrant groups. And what is also really important is that studying languages and occupational education, that is vastly offered also for the immigrant population. But I see that these two can be also fit together with the being part of the workforce at the same time, that they actually are supporting each other, these two things. And
time went, so
okay.
You can come back soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next one up is Silva, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Veronica. My name is Silva Mertsola. I'm born and raised here in Helsinki. So I know this city as my pocket, and I truly love it a lot. I'm a Swedish-speaking Finn, so I went to Swedish school, and as many of those who I went to school with, we all moved abroad. Many of us did, and I'm one of the only ones of those friends that I went to high school with who actually returned to Finland. So I studied and worked in Copenhagen for about 5 years. And when I was living in Copenhagen, I could really see what it means for a society when you have a well-functioning labor market. And that was the thing that motivated me to get into politics. Just like Juhani said earlier, I believe that the key to inclusion comes through having a job and feeling like you're a part of society. And there is a lot that we need to do in Finland to ensure that we have a labor market where people have the access to jobs and where they feel welcomed. So that's one of the key issues for me in politics in general. When we're talking about Helsinki politics at the moment, I'm working very hard to make this city more international. And that's a big thing. Like Veronica said, you need to address it holistically. And I think that the key to it comes from employment and entrepreneurship and how to make a better framework for companies to hire people and for people to come here. So those are the questions that are important to me, and I'm looking very much forward to this discussion. I know that we'll have a lot of different lenses and different ways of looking at this.
Yeah.
So I'm looking very much forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you, and we will come back to the employment issues soon. And the next one is Sophie, please.
Thank you, Veronica. So nice to see you all. I'm Sophie Paulkinen. I'm 33 years old, and I work as a policy advisor in a Green parliamentary group. I'm responsible there for education, culture, and also immigration issues. I joined Greens because Greens is a very liberal party. We are also very open to new people. The diversity is a really important value for us, and also we are very open to Europe and global issues. I live in Hertsaniemenranta with my husband. I have also 1-year-old kid. You might hear him as well here sometimes. He can be noisy. And then 2 bonus children as well. I campaign for equal education, good everyday family life, and sustainable economics and growth. I want to keep Helsinki be a very good city for families and of course for everyone. And I'm also a member of Helsinki Education Committee.
Okay, thank you. And the next one is Arvind, please. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Lukan, for organizing this. My name is Arvind Ramachandran. I'm running on a Left Alliance ticket in these elections. I've lived in Finland for 7 years now, and I've lived in Helsinki for 6 years, so I'm an immigrant myself. And I was asked to quickly talk about inclusion and integration in this opening remarks. So my party, so the Left Alliance, and my team is Kaupunkilaista ei jätetä in Finnish, so in English that's no city dweller left behind. So my party is strongly of the view that people are worth because they're people and not because they have a job or so on and so forth. In Helsinki, at least, we hear this a lot, that immigrants need to get into the job market to be treated as people. The Left Alliance questions that, and that's why I'm on the Left Alliance. So people first immigration policy, people first integration policy is what we stand for. And Helsinki being a city where 10% do not even have Finnish citizenship, and 1 in 6 speak a language other than Finnish, Swedish, or Northern Sami as the first language. So it's a very international city. And I feel that integration politics and inclusion politics in Helsinki are caught in some sort of 80s time warp, where they are not based on what actually works for people, and they are too one-dimensional. So that's why I'm in the Left Alliance, trying to actually put an immigrant's voice in the city council and get things changed so that the city works for everyone and not just for a few. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It feels like you have been practicing. You are so very good on 1.5 minutes, all of you. It's really nice. Klaus, please. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I have not practiced, so let's see how it goes. So I'm Klaus Sallinen. I have been living here forever. That will say 29 years. At the moment, I study theology in the University of Helsinki, and I work in a very international business. That will say the restaurant business. I have been active there since I was 16 years old. I have also been active doing some volunteer work for non-governmental organizations and the church, which are also very international. And my view of integration is that work and language are the most important. So coming together as people, not as systems, is one of my theme in these elections. My prior theme is to fight corruption in Helsinki. So maybe we will get more into that later, but that's briefly everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll see, is Bioma here at the moment? She has had some problems with her internet connections.
She was here a minute ago, and now she, I think, left again. So we might need to get back to her.
Could you try to phone her?
Yes, I'm trying to.
You have her number? Yeah, okay, but then we go forward. Thomas.
Hi, Thomas Wahlgren. I'm Thomas. I'm a professor of philosophy at the University of Helsinki. I am still a solidarity activist. I started my first job after school was with the Finnish Refugee Council, and I remain an activist in the World Social Forum, etc., in the global networks for global solidarity and climate justice. I've been in the city council 12 years. I'm from the Social Democrats, and there I have seen some progress in integration policy and solidarity work, and have proudly been part of it together with good friends from other parties. So 3 things I want to mention. When we speak of integration, we often think of integration as motivated by a need, a self-interest in Finland for the workers that come from other continents. I come to the question of integration from the perspective of solidarity. It's true that we need, for our labor market, we need new influx of immigrants, but we also need immigration for our sense of responsibility for the globe. So that, and I don't see a conflict between these, but I just want to mention that solidarity comes first and self-interest comes second. On that basis, we have achieved in the city council the last few years. We have achieved some social security for undocumented, for Roma beggars, for the most needing people. We have achieved progress in positive discrimination in the schools. We have achieved safe havens for artists at risk, and we have achieved a comprehensive strategy for global responsibility. All these are need to be updated. We need to move forward. But these are achievements which I have been part of and am proud of. So I think Helsinki has moved forward, thanks to also the input of many immigrants here. So yeah. I'm happy to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we still have some problems with Bioma. We'll see if she will find her way in at some point. But I think that we have to continue. And then she will have the time to introduce herself at some point. Now we go to our questions, and I had this idea that we start with yes and no questions first, and then you either raise your green or red light, or then a hand or a crying person if it's no, and a joy and a positive person if it's yes. Neera, please, you had a question.
I have a MacBook from year 2007, and this vintage machine has not been as updated as I would like. So I have asked I'm so sorry, I'm so bad at names. Aino Jones, and I have asked her which one to use, and she said to use the thumbs up or the surprised face. So
thumbs up
I don't know.
Plus
I don't know.
Is yes, and surprised face
is no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think we can manage here.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and the question is, does the Finnish society need to change in order to accommodate immigrants? Okay, here is 7 yes and 1 no. So
actually it's not no.
Okay.
I'm surprising for that question only. Of course I can say yes, but I'm surprising for that question.
Oh, you were surprised for that question. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Arvind, how do you think that the Finnish society should change?
Well, multiple researchers have shown that Finland is one of the most racist countries in Europe. For example, Being Black in the EU report from 2018 showed Finland right on top among tens of EU countries as being the worst place for people of African origin. So, and then the news reports that we've got from how the police has been treating, for example, Roma people, holding an illegal register of Roma people, and then actively participating in far-right activities, abusing people that they have arrested based on their ethnic background and so on and so forth. So Finland is full of hatred for immigrants, and I feel that that has to change before we can start expecting that immigrants will have to change who they are. So I think the first step for integration is for Finland to change.
Okay, Neera?
I would say that it's obviously yes, for very good reasons that Arvind said, but also because we always change. So basically the equality integration, it's never going to completely be ready and full and done and perfect. So basically, yes, we always need to change. We always need to do better. But as he said recently, yes, definitely these are the facts right now. So we need to be changing the mainstream conversation about integration and immigration, that we are really all equal, and no matter what you do, you never lose your human rights.
Okay, and then I think it was, Sophie, did you raise your hand, or did you have a possibility to say yes or no? You raise your hand and then we continue.
Yeah, so I said yes, and I totally agree with Arvind and Neera. So there is racism and it's a big problem. But also one problem what I see that in Finland, in Helsinki, we don't see potential in every person. We talk about it a lot, so that in Finland everyone can become anything, but it's not true, and it's especially for immigrant women very difficult to get employed. And so we have these structures where we are, okay, where can we find more people to work here? And then we don't really see and use that potential what we have here a lot. So we should change.
Okay. Thomas and Klaus, is it so that you need to say something here as well? Thomas, you are.
I'd be happy to add to what friends have said, that there's a need. I mean, when we fight racism, I think we have a great need to depolarize the debate, that we should see that racism is not something that divides people, so some are racist and others are not racist, but we should recognize racism, the heavy luggage of racism that we carry, each one of us, and avoid, it's not a question of announcing that you're not a racist, it's a question of working on racist structures in society and in yourself. So I just wanted to add that as a perspective to what friends have said earlier.
Klaus, do you want to add something, or should we continue?
I could add that we could expand the way we see what is Finnish, what is being Finnish. As soon as you get the Finnish passport and the citizenship, you should also be treated as one. And a wise man once said that the world has become one big neighborhood without becoming a single bit of a brotherhood. So just quoting this.
That's a good quote. Okay, then we move forward, and I think that I will give this this question to maybe to Juhani and Silva first, and then you others can answer to that or comment on there. How do you define successful integration? And then Juhani, you could start.
Thank you. Yeah, good question. I see successful integration as a process where the immigrants, first of all, they feel comfortable to be who they are, and they have a support in place where they can, without any kind of problems, integrate into the society, as that they don't have to change their identity or their ways of beliefs, that they can still be part of a multicultural and diverse society. But also integration is a two-way street, as I see it. So also it's not only about Finland to be able to accommodate and integrate immigrants, but it's also immigrants has to see and learn the Finnish ways to live, and so that they are able to function in our society.
Okay, thank you. And then Silva.
I think that's an excellent question, and I would say that integration is successful when the individual feels at home here. It doesn't mean that it has to be your only home, but when you do really feel at home here, I think then we have succeeded in a way. I don't think we'll get to a situation where we have succeeded at the societal level with integrating everyone. It doesn't work like that. We have individuals and people, everyone's situation is different. And I think that needs to be the starting point of all integration politics.
Okay, thank you. Does somebody want to comment? Yes, Nera.
Yeah, so I definitely very strongly feel that right now, for example, as we are speaking about this issue, it somehow hurts me to think about this this sort of issue like we are talking about them, and talking about a third party, about making immigration and inclusion things about something that isn't about ourselves. It's somehow like we are trying to put something from above on top of the person, unknown person, whereas I somehow feel like we should treat inclusion matters mostly like we treat any sort of problem in Finland about a Finn. Like, for example, if you have issues with being treated equally on job market, it's a problem about being treated differently on the job market. So basically, the problem is not in the person who is applying the job. The problem is about the place that hires, that is treating the applicants differently. And so basically also when you asked the last question, when you asked about should Finland change, Finland is not a one person. So basically saying that Finland should change is somehow like, oh, here's another immigrant saying that Finland is not a good place to live, so move back somewhere. That's not the point. I'm not criticizing Finland as a whole. I'm criticizing the bad attitude and racism and just being a bully. I'm criticizing that. Thank you.
Yeah, Arvind.
How I wish I could be running for two parties. I completely agree with what Neera said. I have to say it was such a big decision for me to choose between Neera's party and my own. But I also want to, and of course our parties work really closely together in the city council as with the Tuomas's party. So we do share a lot. It's not a accident that three of us seem to agree so much. But I also want to remind people that saying things like integration is a two-way street, and that once you are a citizen, you are equal. It's all like, it's statistically proven wrong. Third generation foreigners whose parents were born here still find it difficult to get a job. So this is not about citizenship. This is not about language skills. This is about purely Finland not being able to come to terms with difference. And that's why Finland doesn't work not just for immigrants, but also sexual minorities, gender minorities, people who are outside the norm in any way. So also better integration politics is not just teaching people a language or giving free Finnish courses. It's about being ready to work in and be comfortable in the presence of difference. And that's what the leftist parties are pushing forward in the city council. So integration for us is not some side issue. It's about making a city that works for everyone. And I really want to underscore that.
Yeah. Okay, now we need to go forward. So I will raise a question that I think that Elia could answer first, and then if there's somebody else who wants to comment. How can entrepreneurship and or employing people be made easier in Helsinki? Elia, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you. I think that question belongs actually normally for me, because I am a business advisor in Newcomers Helsinki, and we have done a lot for the immigrant also. And we have a part special how to give services for the immigrant in Helsinki and also in all Helsinki region. So this is the point is what you mentioned, like about how we can help the immigrant to be as to be entrepreneur. Also, it's one good thing, and we give a lot. Helsinki City give a lot of services for the immigrant support, startup grant, and many other supporting to encourage them to involve in the Helsinki City and start to pay taxes. But it's not the issue. The point is how the immigrant himself, how he can start that business. There is a difference in the culture, business culture, between a Finnish business culture and the other, depend from where they come to Finland.
Okay,
if they come from other places. So that's it shortly. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. And so we want to comment.
Yes, one good thing what Helsinki used to do before Corona was that there was held some kind of work-seeking events in people's neighborhoods. So you don't need to go somewhere or just email to different companies, but those companies who need people to work and are working in that area, they come there, and then they can find each other. So it could be a very good way for everyone, and we can do those.
No. And now there are a lot of noises. Then a short comment on Silva, and then Thomas will answer the next.
Well, one big structural change that is coming at us right now is one that I'm actually happy that Sanna Marin's government did. I'm not always happiest with that government, but I'm very happy that they decided to move the employment services down to the municipal level. And here I think that we are going to, once we sit in the municipal city council, there is good shots for really developing the way employment services are done. And I am very much willing to, and I know many parties, there's big consensus on putting in resources there and trying to be more innovative about how to make human-centric, people-centric employment services. So that's going to be a fun thing to work with in the next 4 years. So I'm very happy about that.
Thank you. Valeria, thank you. Yes. And now we move on to education. So this was our first things about integration. Now we move on to education, and first a yes or no question, and maybe the answer is obvious here as well, what we see. Is the early childhood education and the basic education inclusive for everyone? Yeah, Klaus, you didn't answer. Yes, you answer now. Okay. Juhani, Thomas, Silva, and Eliel, and Klaus said yes. And Suvi, you said no. Arvind said no. Nero said no. So Suvi, would you start? Why do you think it's not inclusive for everyone?
Well, we have very good schools and daycare centers, and we do many things well, but we still have a lot of segregation inside of our school and education system. One example is that when you go to secondary school, many families choose another school than their nearest school because they can have their more music class or decide different languages to learn. It's not a problem that some people want to go to music class. I don't blame mothers or fathers. Of course, parents want the best for their children, but maybe we could think more how those nearest schools work, why families don't trust that they are good enough for their children. And that's where segregation happens when children go to different schools, and then schools start to be too different, and there have different outcomes.
Yeah, Thomas, you said yes, and you wanted to comment.
Yeah, it's a difficult question, but I do think that we need to remember that in international comparison, it is an achievement of the Finnish society that there's a basic right which is equal. So undocumented persons living in Helsinki, their children have the same right and have an effective right to join kindergarten and primary education, also secondary education. So that is there. Whether it's effective and equal is a different matter. And often it's not effective and equal, but there is a basic right, which is part of our system, which I think we need to recognize that some things have been achieved, even though there's a long way to go to make it just. I wish to comment on the labor market thing, on exploitative labor, but I will keep that for later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Silva.
Yeah, I was echoing what Thomas was saying. There, like in an international comparison, there's something so extraordinary about the Finnish education system, and I don't want to look down on our teachers who are doing an excellent job. That being said, there are clear structural problems within primary education, especially in Helsinki. We have a labor shortage of people working in that field. It's terribly difficult to find international kindergartens or kindergartens in another language like Swedish. So naturally there are problems. And but maybe I don't know when we'll ever get to a point where something is perfectly inclusive, but I would still like to recognize the fact that I'm proud of our people working in schools and kindergartens, and we're doing quite well.
Yeah, thank you. And then I give the floor to Arvind and then Neera, and then we go to the next question.
The situation with the schooling in Helsinki is so bad that a Left Alliance candidate is going to agree with the Kokoomus candidate. That's to put it lightly. it is not inclusive, and early childhood education is especially available only in Finnish, Swedish, and in one kindergarten in Northern Sami. If you go to the website in a city that has 142, if not more, registered first languages, children are only offered early childhood education in the official languages. And then we sit and ask why parents don't want to send their kids to kindergarten. So it doesn't work. And I am not criticizing teachers, I'm criticizing the decision makers who haven't evolved with an evolving city. Thank you.
Nera.
Oh my, I have so much to say about this, my favorite issue. But yes, such a hard no. It's not enough. It's so much not enough. The whole subject of inclusion is about not only immigration, but about everything. So basically, including means that there is a choice of not including, and not including somebody equals bullying, somebody who is present. This is basic bullying thing. And so basically in schools, we have a lot of bullying. We cannot recognize children who need to work in ways that we now know are not dependent on them. We have gender inequality, we have sexuality issues, we have, especially as immigrants, we have these issues in maybe our families as well as Finnish-born people, but we also have them on top of being an immigrant or carrying that role. This is not a role that an immigrant feels is home to them, but it's a role that is put upon you, and you can't change it. This is just basic bullying, and we are nowhere near equality. Being good in comparison to other countries is just, it's not a way I want to think about things. We can, and we have the ways to do a lot better. We have a lot of info, we just don't have the decisions. Thank you.
Yeah, we had a comment here from Arvind that say that Helsinki is not doing enough because the kindergarten is only in Swedish, Finnish, and Sami. Is somebody eager to comment something on that? Klaus.
Yes, I do not see any reason why we should, as a system, promote any other languages than Finnish, Swedish, and Sami. If you think on a global scale, Finnish is a minority language. We're just 6 million native speakers. We have to protect our language, and it's better to include people from an early stage by teaching Finnish or Swedish than to segregate people into like English-speaking schools. Come on, the whole world speaks English. So let's promote these small national languages. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Then we continue with the question concerning that it's something that we have been working on in Lucan integration with this project a bit. And this question I will give first to Thomas and Klaus. How can we ensure that integration in Swedish is equal to Finnish in Helsinki? Thomas, do you want to start?
Well, it's very easy. Because we're speaking with Lucan, it's just a fact of life that we need Lucan for integration in Swedish in Helsinki. Lucan has the competence, and so it's a question of resourcing. Lucan is very straightforward. I just want to thank you for your work.
Thank you very much for that answer. Klaus.
I would go back to the matter of education. I myself was in a Swedish-speaking school, and I saw the big injustice there that we had no immigrants in our school. We were just Finnish, Swedish kids, and all the immigrants went to Finnish schools. So maybe this would be one, like putting people into Swedish-speaking schools.
Yeah, Silva, and then Arvind.
I think Lucan is doing an excellent job here, but I want to highlight that at the end of the day, it needs to be the choice of the individual, whether he or she decides to go for the path in Finnish or the path in Swedish, or then doesn't have the need to integrate into language-wise because doesn't simply have the need for it. That being said, I think that there is something special with the Swedish-speaking minority in Finland. We can see that in Swedish-speaking areas, the level of integration and employment among immigrants is very high. And being a Swedish-speaking Finn, it is slightly different in culture. And I think that there is some open-mindedness and open-heartedness. And I think just giving people the option and making it visible for them that this is an option is something that Lucan is doing very well. And I want to I see that as valuable, but there are some cons also to learning Swedish instead of Finnish.
Yeah, thank you. Arvind.
I'll keep this very short. I just want to say that providing ways to integrate in Swedish is really good, but it should not be like you just move the pain a couple more years, because I know that people have thought, hey, here's a shortcut to get integrated in Finnish society. They learn Swedish and they try to integrate in Swedish, but then 2 years later, after they've spent all their time, they realize they just have to move to Sweden, like a lot of Swedish speakers end up doing. And that's also not fair. And this is not something Lucan has to fix. It's something we as a society have to fix. If our nationally recognized minority language is not a good path to society, then what will be? And I also want to highlight how for Klaus, using Swedish does not threaten Finnish, but using Arabic seems to threaten Finnish. He just made a big point about Finnish being a threatened language, and now he's encouraging people to use Swedish instead. I just don't see the point in arguments like this. Thank you.
Klaus, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I just refer to the Constitution. We are a constitutional tools. We have 2 constitutional national languages. This is where we go. As far as it is a constitutional national language, we can go with it. So I know these contradict each other, but it's politics.
Okay, then we're going to continue.
Can I answer shortly?
Yeah.
Where I can put that if I want to answer something or say something? Someplace.
Do you find the reactions in the right-hand bottom?
Yeah.
So you push on that, and then either raise your hand or then you.
Okay. Yeah. So, but shortly I can say, like, as long as we have that Swedish language is the second language in Finland, so we have to have the integration in Swedish also. That's shortly.
Yeah. Thank you. What should be done to ensure that children with immigrant background have equal access to opportunities or to higher education? Who would like to answer that first? Neera, and then Neera was first, and then it was Silva and Klaus.
All right, so this is a very good question, actually, because I have firsthand experience on this. So when I moved to Finland, I was 11, and then I got to go to normal class when I learned language and proceeded with normal studies. Normal, I hate that word. But anyway, so went to 7th, 8th, 9th grade, and in the 9th grade, I actually spoke really good Finnish, and I had grades that were really, really good. So my median was, I think, 9.4 or something like that. Anyway, I was in Vantaa living back then, and I was talking about how I maybe wanted to go to Lukio, to high school or whatever it is in English. And I learned that Dressun Lukio had a really high standards, and so I wanted to go there, and I was bullied in my old school, so I didn't want to go at all with the same people, so I wanted to go to another school. And Opo, so the person who gives you advice on these, she actually really boned me down from when she asked, what do you want to be? And I was like, I don't know, maybe a doctor, lawyer, or whatever. I don't know, I will make that decision later because I don't still need to do it. But she was more like, okay, but maybe you don't understand now, but maybe having a sure, what is it, like a job or a profession will help you maybe later. So have you thought about going to somewhere that takes shorter to get a degree, maybe like a nurse or a cook or something like that? And I have nothing against these things, but that was not my passion. And I had the full knowledge and opportunities and everything. And so this is what happens a lot. And when I said that we are pushed roles as immigrants from above throughout the system, this is just one of those cases. And she was feeling a little bit miffed that I did not take this opportunity, that I wanted to go, with her words, elite, where I don't have the same background as other people.
Silva, what should we do to that these kind of things wouldn't happen again?
I was going to go with the exact same point. So I was going to comment on the fact that it is so important that I think it's called education counselors throughout the school system are educated in very much looking at the student as an individual and not as a part of a group. and because that's just you hear these stories so much. So really making sure that if you do not, whether you're an immigrant or not an immigrant of any background, if you're not supported from your family and your background to go into high school or go into university or any form of higher education, then that you get that support from school. So that's just a broadly understood concept, and I think it needs to be developed.
Klaus, were you eager to comment on this?
Yeah, I would just add that the same goes as with the question of gender. Why do boys do worse in school and so on? We would need more teachers of different backgrounds in the earlier levels of schooling, in elementary schools and so on. So we would have more role models for people and motivate them to get higher education in later points. Thank you.
And then Sophie, Arvind, and Thomas, and then we move on.
Thank you. Those points were very good. One thing what I've heard from study counselors when I've talked about this issue with them, they say that the problem is normally that the students with immigrant backgrounds might have very ambitious plans about their future, but their Finnish or Swedish isn't good enough. And that's why they feel that they get disappointed. And I'm like, okay, but this is not how you solve problems. But I kind of understand what they are trying to say, and I think they try to say that we should have better Finnish and Swedish as a second language education throughout our whole schooling system, starting from early childhood education. So we should do this better. So then, because it's a problem if your grades aren't good enough, because you have problems with Finnish or Swedish and teachers don't see your real knowledge behind it. So we have to work with teacher education about attitudes, but also make Finnish and Swedish as a second language education much better.
Arvind.
I want to continue this analogy we were making with the gender equality, but from another way. I think we are continuously victim blaming here. We are blaming the ones suffering from the system because they are put into S2 just based on their names before they've even met the teachers when they shift from primary to secondary school. And you get put into S2, it means that when you go meet your school counselor, your whole conversation is different. When you get put into S2, when you go apply for university, you suddenly have much higher requirements to get into the same course that your friends who got the S1 just walk into. So instead of victim blaming, we need structural change, which we are trying to do. I know this is a difficult solution to a difficult problem, but victim blaming is not going to get us anywhere. We need structural change. We need people to be treated for who they are and not because of the group they belong to.
Thomas.
Yeah, just to add, I'm worried about the individualistic perspective on these matters. People with different needs need to have different resources to achieve equality in education and equality in opportunity. We need to fight structural racism. So the people who educate need to be educated to see racist structures in their own work, in their practices. That has to be spread all through society. There's also a question of giving special support to people who have different backgrounds. So we need to look at structures when we address the individual and not only thinking that everybody comes with the same resources and same opportunities. Then let me say also that equality education is very important, but we can only achieve that if we are successful in a comprehensive anti-racist change of Finland.
Okay, thank you. Sophie, would you like to short comment and then we continue?
Oh, I think it was the old hand.
It was an old hand. Okay, then we could go to the next part, and then we look at the urban environment. Helsinki has a saying, a slogan, Helsinki is a city for everyone. Is Helsinki a city for everyone? Yes or no? Juhani, you said it's a city for everyone, please.
Yes, I believe that Helsinki, as a capital city of Finland, provides vast opportunities for people who live here and people who move here. And that's basically my argument. And I believe that Finland is pretty diverse city. Of course, there is still much more diversity, room for diversity and more room for internationalism in our city. But still, we are moving forward, and we have this discussion has been really good in identifying some issues, and I'm sure that in the future these issues will be more and more put into practice as well in the city council and in this city. So I'm pretty hopeful for the future, and I see Finland as an international city that provides opportunities for all at the moment as well.
Klaus, you said no.
Don't get me wrong, it should be open, but I don't think it is open enough. There is always much work to do. And this goes also for people who come from other parts of Finland. They experience lots of racist attitudes, if you can put it that way.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Arvind, you want to comment, and then Elia.
I have to say, I cannot stand this kind of thing that this is racism. This is not racism. Somebody moving from rural Finland experiencing discrimination in Helsinki is not racism, and you cannot put it that way. This is one of the biggest problems in Finland. We don't even understand what racism is, and we try to call everything racism. So people like me and Neera, who are suffering from racism, are just like thought to suffer from different opinions. So I really want to call what Klaus said out. People moving from elsewhere in Finland experiencing discrimination in Helsinki is not racism.
Klaus could comment on this, and then Elia's turn, and then Neera.
Yes, I apologize for the use of my word. This is why I did like this, because I am not a native English speaker. I couldn't quickly find which would be right word. Maybe now, as I think, discriminative attitudes or something. I apologize. This is just my lack of language skills.
That's fine. Elia.
Thank you. I understand the point of view from Arvind. It's a very good speech. Now he gave a good point for that question. But I want to say that the Economic Development Department in Helsinki do a lot for to make the Helsinki it's better for everybody in Helsinki. That's right, but it's still there is a lot of things to do. I'm agreeing with that Helsinki should be for everybody, nice to live and to use all the services, but we still need a lot of work to do. Shortly.
Neera.
This is a good question. I do feel that Helsinki is a city for everyone. Obviously it is, because everybody can just try and err and there that way. But I do feel that regarding the previous question about roles, I would really love to see different looking people doing different kind of work in Helsinki. I believe that first time that I was myself in London, I was a little bit shocked to see so many different kind of people in different roles wearing business suits or whatever, whereas in Helsinki you are used to certain people working in the kitchens or cleaning or whatever. So I would really love to see more diversity, and I believe that that would also affect the attitudes that counselors have in school towards what is a possible thing to do. But I also want to comment on Klaus's opinion that sometimes people from other parts of Finland, when they come to Helsinki, they might they might do some well-meant racism, where they don't exactly think that they're being racist, but they are. And so they're not accepting that attitude and that sort of words, it's not being intolerant towards them. It's just being. Yeah.
Elia, you wanted to have a short comment.
Yeah, that's very good point from Neera also. Now, but I should say something like it's a fact. Now, from Newco Helsinki, we have more than 40% of our customers they are immigrants, they are foreigners, they are from abroad also. So that means we have in Helsinki city, we do a lot for that groups that to integrate or to find a job or to involve in our Helsinki city. That's one point, but that's a good point from Nera. I agree with her.
Thank you. Now we go forward and with the next question. And I give the floor to Sophie and Juhani. What political decisions do you want to make to reduce possible segregation in Helsinki?
Well, one thing what I want to do is to raise this positive discrimination money, what we use in our schooling system. I don't like the word positive discrimination because I think it's more like need-based funding. So where you need more money, there you can use more money. It has been very effective. One result we got is that those students who don't speak Finnish or Swedish as their mother language, they from those schools they go more often to the secondary education than without that funding. So it really is effective. But we use only like 1% of our education funding to that purpose. So it's really small money if you think how much more everything you might need in those areas. So we need more money for that. And of course, one other thing is housing and how we help different areas to develop so they could be good for everyone and we don't get those or something like that.
Thank you. Juhani.
Thank you. Yeah, I see housing policy and town planning as the most important factor in this issue, and that there would be in each area in Helsinki, in each district, there would be rental housing available, and then there would be privately owned housing available, the different kind of housing. And this is a very important thing, that there's no segregation, because this is a very big issue, and we have seen this all across the Europe, how this can actually divide the population in big cities. And Helsinki is growing as well and becoming more diverse and multicultural. So we really need to pay attention into this issue.
Thank you. And now short answers or comments from Silva, Arvind, and Thomas.
Good. So definitely we need to have needs-based funding, and definitely we need to make sure that we have rental apartments all over the city to make the city diverse. But still, I truly believe that the best form of social policy is to ensure that people can get a job, so that people can fend for themselves. I think that's really the key to becoming a part. And it's not to say that immigrants need to get jobs so that they can pay taxes, but because I think that that's what's best for every human being, is to be a part of society. And here there's two pathways. One is to make entrepreneurship easier. Starting any kind of boutique right now is a very heavy bureaucratic process, so it needs to become easier and more comprehensive in all languages. And the other thing is that we can't have everybody working in the public sector, so we need to make sure that Helsinki is lucrative for private sector companies of all sizes, so that there is a possibility to get a job. We have huge unemployment in this city right now, and I don't think that's going to, and I think that's one of the key issues to solve right now in all social issues in this city.
Thank you. Arvind and then Thomas.
So I'm a city planner by profession, and I have to react to this kind of dog whistle where you say that the segregation in Helsinki is increasing. So we know that when people say that they're talking about Kannelmäki or Kontula, but that's places where 20 ethnic groups live together. That's not segregation. Segregation is Eira, Ullanlinna, Lauttasaari, Kuusisaari, Kulosaari, that sort of place. So as a city planner, if you want to cut segregation, if you want to increase equality, we need to go rohkeasti, boldly, and plan in those places, because what we think is segregation is not what is segregation. The segregation comes from people who earn too much, putting walls around, putting cameras on their gates and saying the rest of the city can deal with their problems. So we need real radical urban planning. Thank you.
Thomas and then Neera, and then I think you go forward.
Yeah, thanks. In addition to housing, jobs and education, I just want to add the labor market polarization, which is threatening us. The more we marketize social security and public health, the more we're gonna have insecure jobs. We're gonna have jobs, exploitative jobs that provide for people's needs. That is will be a race to the bottom in the labor markets. We need to maintain a very strong public sector. We need, in order to combat exploitative labor markets in which immigrants will be the first victims. So that's a thing where I think the present shift to the right is very dangerous for our success in anti-racism and integration.
Neera, and then I think Silva needs to get a comment. First, for short answers or comments.
All right. So basically, I feel that we are having same disease, but we are hearing sort of like symptoms with talking about jobs or job opportunities or housing, or therefore I really feel that that this is the sort of thing where we need to break the norms. We need to affect the what is expected of a person who might look like an immigrant. If you don't look like an immigrant or your name is not sounding like an immigrant's name, you don't have these issues. So basically, I feel that this is the biggest problem when it comes to, for example, segregation. People don't segregate themselves, they are segregated. It comes from the outside. I feel that we have a lot of ways to access needs of people who need not to be segregated, but we don't listen to them enough. They don't have the power. Decisions are made for them, for us. And so basically,
Silva,
I will just, okay, can I please say to the end that we have the info, we need to think outside the box. Like, for example, the youth with two backgrounds, they have plenty of ideas right now in the city council, but they are not being funded. And these are really cheap, easy solutions, but they sound outlandish, like kukkahattu täti sort of thing.
Okay. Silva, did you want to comment on something here?
Oh, I want to comment on so much, so I'll try to keep it consistent. I don't know if I can, but really, yes, norms are very, very important, but we cannot legislate our way out of racism and prejudice. Finland has a very short history of immigration. We can create structures, we can make changes, but I mean, compared to other European countries, our history is very different and change happens incrementally. So I don't think we can't get into people's heads, but we can make structural changes. And there, I think one of the most important things is where I disagree with Thomas, is that I think the most important thing is to get a more flexible labor market here, because what Thomas is talking about is good for those people who are employed, but I'm interested in those people who are unemployed and how to ensure that they can get into the labor market. And there we need to make it more flexible.
Thank you. Now I know that Arvind would like to say something, but I think we go forward, and so we have the time to go through all our questions. Then we go a bit to social services and healthcare. First, yes and no question. Should healthcare professionals be more culturally sensitive? Juhani and Elliot, yes. Everybody said yes. Is there somebody who wants to talk about this? Neera.
I always want to talk. Basically, I feel that this is one of those things where when you are giving some sort of this education about being non-critical or attitudes or whatever, people's first initial response is, I don't need this, this is obvious. And whenever you are giving some new rules within the healthcare or some some new equipment or whatever, very often you meet negative attitude because it feels like for the same pay, I need to do something extra and this way. So basically, I really feel that people would like to be, people who are in healthcare, they already feel the attitude that they want to help. Obviously, being sensitive about racial issues is good, and that can never stop. We can always do better. But I do feel that people are, the more they feel unappreciated, the less they have personal resources to take other people's feelings and backgrounds into account. So I think that this is one of those issues where we are right now.
Arvind and then Sophie wanted to comment as well, and then we go forward.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that we all agree, irrespective of where we are on the political spectrum. But I just want to continue this discussion that I don't know if you can legislate racism out, but you can definitely not let the market take care of racism, which is what a lot of right-wing parties seem to be offering today. So, and healthcare as well, we need to increase resources. It's not that just that the Somalis turned up in the 90s and Finland suddenly became racist. The Sami and Roma have known these for hundreds of years. And healthcare, social services, all of them are colored, and I use the word colored consciously. They are colored with discrimination, and this is nothing against the doctors and nurses who are overworked. This is classic structural racism. I'm sure Thomas has a lot more to say about this than I have, who've just lived here 6 years and have very little actual experience about it. But culturally sensitive does not mean that you have to go read the Quran. It just means that as a doctor, as a nurse, as a healthcare professional, you should be willing to meet your patient in a way that works for them, patient first. So that means that you need more resources, and more resources for social services is not going to come from Mehiläinen. It's going to come from the public sector. That's why on the left, we are so clear that we don't cut from basic social services. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, Arvind.
Sophie.
Yes, thank you. I think for me, like with a white woman with a Finnish name, it's for me very difficult to see or say what kind of racism there is in everyday life. But what I can see is statistics. And in statistics, it shows that people with foreign background use less social and healthcare services than other Finns. And we should be more sensitive and find out why this is like that. Are they just so much healthier? I think that can't be the answer. Is it because of racism? Is it because of the information? Is it because they don't ask so hard than others, so they don't push them the services? So where is the problem? We should find it out and then solve it.
Yeah, then I think we go forward to the next question. How to make inhabitants more aware of different services available to them and make them more accessible. So this is about something that you, Sophie, pointed on. Is it Neera that could start, and then maybe Silva?
This is a really easy question. Ask them, make it available. When it is, when decision is made by somebody who doesn't know their target group at all and their needs, and they think about some sort of like stereotypes how to access this certain target group, it's difficult. Like, for example, when we have like female, or well, it's not about female, but for example, if you have things with reproductional things in the healthcare with endometriosis or something like that, you would probably want a person who understands what that pain feels like to be listening to you. So basically, it's hard if you have somebody who doesn't use the products that you are making, that you're using, making them. It's not going to be functional. Thank you.
Now I'm a bit lost of count. Did you, Silva, ask for a comment, or should we continue? No, Thomas and Sophie.
Yeah, just briefly, this is the kind of thing where we have to be very research driven. Certainly Helsinki city is using research, but in order to have the right measures in this kind of thing, we need to work closely with researchers, and also, and that's very important, we need to take best practices from maybe from other Nordic countries especially, to see what tricks people have worked out, which have then helped. Thank you.
Sophie and then Arvind, and I think we continue.
One thing what I think would be good for all is to have social and healthcare services close enough for people homes. Now we are making bigger social and healthcare centers. I kind of understand what we are looking for by doing that, but then we have also had nice trials like dentist buses which drive around Helsinki and go to different neighborhoods. Maybe we could have those kind of systems for maybe childcare centers or for other services. That would make it much easier to go there, especially if you have many children at home or you are not used to use those services.
Yeah. Arvind, you had a short
I just want to put some statistics to support Neera's great point. More than 2/3 of Helsinki city councillors live in or near the city center. And most suburbs don't even have one councillor, and tens of thousands of people, for example, from places like Malmi, have no voice in the city council. And research from many universities in Finland, which came out recently, has proven that the less councillors you have, the more likely that your local services are cut. Nobody is doing this consciously, but representation matters. Ei meistä ilman meitä.
And then Neera, and then we go to the next question.
Thanks, I'll be very short. I was just asking my friend about things about youth mental health. She said that they already have given every single information point. The research is there on the table, but the people who make the decision don't use that research. And so, yes, I do strongly agree that we need research, but about having little tricks from other Nordic countries doesn't give us the best outcome. It just gives us trying tricks and sort of like poking, maybe something of this will work. You need research and you need the feedback from the target group, because you still, when you build houses or malls or whatever, you still always have some steps or whatever where somebody with a wheelchair can't use them. So this is all about the target group. You have best engineers, they will still not understand the things that you are giving them for use from the point of view of somebody who is having some stops.
Then we go forward, and I ask the next question first to Elia and Klaus. What kind of services do you think are especially important for newcomers? Elia, would you like to answer first?
Yes, that's a good question, and it's so difficult question. The problem in Finland, it's from 1990 until now, it's the same. When the newcomers come to Finland, I was in Canada, so I checked. I wasn't living in Canada. We visited there from the Helsinki city. We see that they have a good services. It's that newcomer when they come in, all family they are in the integrated system. So children, they go to daycare, they learn English or French language. Similar as here, they can learn Finnish or Swedish. The second, people that the father's family, each one they have something to do. So studying, if they are a good speaker in English, they go direct to work. They find for them work. So the 2 point is the work, to find work for them. Second, to find a good school education. So there is a 2 line for that, to have a good working system for the newcomer to Finland.
Thank you. Klaus.
Yes, thank you. I would see that, of course, the basic services, raise awareness of health services and other stuff. And then, of course, language courses. It's very important. And I agree with this, employing people would be nice. We could have assisted employing at least in the earliest stage of when you come into the country. And I'm a big friend of this anonymous recruitation, which would probably help when you take the skill instead of your surname, for example.
Yeah. Now I'm sorry, but we will continue now to the next yes and no question. Culture and leisure. Yes and no, or no. Should separate services for immigrants instead of them participating in cultural and leisure activities designed for everyone?
I couldn't hear your
Could you
question.
please repeat?
Yeah, can you repeat, please? I couldn't hear you.
Should there be separate services for immigrants instead of them participating in cultural and leisure activities designed for everyone?
What is yes or no? It's a bit.
Yeah.
Should there be yes? Is that so?
Yeah, should there be separate services is yes, instead of... Okay, Thomas, would you like to start to answer this?
Well, I mean, there's some cases when, in order to have access, you need to have separate service. That can happen in, I don't know, it can happen in sports, it can happen in culture. So to provide equal access, we need to have care for special needs.
Yeah. Juhani, you said no.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't hear the answer question very well. I'm sorry, but my point is that I would like to go to what Elia said about Canada before, and I think that it's very important to see how like in which way, which kind of services people need when they first enter the country. And I've seen this so many times in my work that people actually want to be involved in job markets. That makes them feel that they are part of the society, that they are valued as a member of the society. And too often in Finland, we put the immigrants in with the immigrants for 3 years to study Finnish. But these people would actually like to work, and it should be possible to organize it in a way that they go to work, and then they also have, in addition to work, day occupational and language education. And when it comes to kids, there's also the kindergarten and the preschool education is very, very important issue that now we have designed this extension of compulsory education in Finland, but I would like to actually stress that we should early the compulsory education, that the 4 and 5-year-old, at least 5-year-old should already attend the preschool, and that would also be very beneficial for the immigrant population in integration wise.
Okay, now we go with short comments from Silva, then Suvi, Neera, and Arvind, and then we continue.
So as the question here was about culture and leisure and how about services for different kinds of groups, and I think that's a bit of a, I think it's very cringe-worthy to look at culture as something that's designed in the city council. Culture is something that is created organically by people in local communities in different places. You have street culture, you have different forms of culture where people mix, and simultaneously people have all the right in the world to practice the whichever culture they want from which they have brought with them or that they want to create here. So the whole idea of having somehow centrally planned cultural activities to mix different groups is not the way I wish to approach culture. I think you should fund it and then give people the right to create the kind of culture that suits for them. And I'm not gonna say whether you should do it with people of what kind of a background. That's up to people themselves.
Suvi.
Well, I think if we talk about those cultural leisure activities that the city provides, we need to think how who use those services and make them accessible for everyone. Most of the things can show that it can be really good for everyone, and we don't need to separate people in different groups. But then I think good things what Helsinki has done. So we have like swimming halls. So there are private hours for girls from Somalian background, so it can be more accessible for them like that. Also, like one organization in Helsinki, they got some money from Helsinki because they found out that there are some social issues in the area, and there are many 15, 16-year-old boys who have foreign background, and they don't have any hobbies and they don't have anything to do after the school. So they started some kind of football club, and it was of course open for everyone, but they had this cultural sensitivity behind when they were thinking what they are doing. So I think that kind of things we should do in Helsinki more, that we understand different kind of people and groups, and realize that everything doesn't fit everyone, even though we would like it to be like that.
Okay, thank you. Neera.
Well, thank you, Sophie. You just said it, where you, when you asked what sort of services do people need, or whether it should be like in the same group or different group, it can't be one size fits all. People will find the services that they need if there are those that are possible for them. For example, you have Ravintolapäivä, which has made itself into, because there is the need, people will find way to talk with each other. They just need the safe space to find more similarities than differences between themselves. So what services do people need? I don't know, ask them. Some people might want to be going to job immediately, and some people might want to learn languages. Some people might be already having some skills that they don't need to learn, whereas you have all people put in the same group and service is same, the path is same. It doesn't work like that. Nobody is happy.
Arvind, and then Elia, and then we continue.
Yeah, I just want to comment that the questions like this are similar to questions I'm sure all of us candidates have answered in these election compasses, which all the Yle and whatnot, the Vaalikoneet that they put. So when people ask, like, should immigrants or minorities have their own events, we know that we are not talking about whether Helsinki Kaupunki, Helsinki city should fund French language theater. It's not the French or German culture that we are worried that is becoming a bubble, right? We have to be open. This is about Islamophobia. This is about anti-Blackness. This is about structural racism. So when you give a question like that, oh, should city support culture for minorities which is only for minorities? And we are not talking about a marginal issue. 106,000 people. So 1 in 6 people in Helsinki had a first language other than Finnish, Swedish, or Northern Sami already 2 years ago. So this is not a marginal issue, giving culture funding for minority languages or for activities that only people who speak a certain language or identify with a certain culture might use. And of course, nobody's stopping a white Finn who has learned Arabic from going and listening to an Arabic concert or a poetry night. But that the city can think that we just support so-called Finnish culture and all the other cultures are left for themselves to fend for themselves is extremely arrogant, unequal, and unfair to people who call this city their home, who pay the same amount of taxes, who do everything they can, and then the city only gives to the city orchestra or the city theater and then says the rest of you can do street art and grassroots things. That's not okay. This is a zero-sum game. Who sits in the council decides whether Vuotalo gets money, decides whether Kulttuurikeskus Kaisa gets money, decides whether Kulttuuria Kaikille gets money. So it is a zero-sum game. It does make a difference which party is there and what sort of ideology they have towards minorities.
Elia.
Thanks. Thank you very much. That culture question, it's a big question for the immigrant, also for the Finns. When we speak about the culture, we don't realize that the immigrants in Finland, they came from one culture. Also, they don't came from one religion. We have Muslim, we have Christian also. We have maybe 50-50 between those two different culture and religions. So we have to concentrate like that way, that immigrant with different cultures, they can carry their own habits, own culture to Finland. So in that case, we have to especially that Helsinki should care for all the Helsinki living people in Helsinki. That's the only the message for the new who can pass for that election.
Yeah, now I think we go to questions from the audience. Aino, are you ready to ask?
Yes.
We have 3 questions in the chat now, and please, the audience could put in some more, and 15 minutes for that. So please, Aino.
Yes, so the first question we have from the audience is that could you name one major accomplishment that you have been able to do with regards to the inclusion of immigrants to the Finnish society? So something that you have done to help and support inclusion of immigrants to Finnish society.
And Thomas, would you like to start?
Well, I did say in the beginning, and I want to say again, I'm very proud and happy to have been active, not the only one, been active in a cross-political formation. When there was a Stop Deportations demo in the center of Helsinki a few years back, this was the so-called refugee crisis winter, 15-16, I believe. And asylum seekers were camping in the main square, Rautatien Tori in Helsinki. And some of us went there. I was the one who initiated it. Went there to meet the asylum seekers. The people of the demo, mainly from Syria and Afghanistan. And we made friends, and we co-created under their leadership and the leadership of those who were carrying forward the message of the demo. We created a list of demands on the city that people thought were important. And I brought together with people from the Left Alliance, from the Swedish Liberal Party, from the Greens. I brought this list to the city council. We did pass a motion on it, and we did achieve a majority for securing most of the improvements for undocumented people that were brought to us from that demonstration. So that's maybe my happiest experience of all from the city council. So I want to report I was there, but other friends, many were there. We had a majority, and we made a good thing. There's lots to do, but that was a good thing. I'm happy with that. Please also excuse me. I will leave the meeting very soon. But thank you so much, all.
Thank you. Thank you for joining in. Thank you. Juhani, do you have some comments? What have you done? And then short answers, then we can have more questions.
Thank you. When I was working in the Finnish Immigration Service as a part of my duties, I was also at one point interviewing the asylum seekers. And I would say that in some of the interviews, I was able to identify some issues that what was considering the person's human rights, and I was able to tell them about their rights in Finland and how they probably different in according to the legislation with the home country. And I was able to give them some details on this, and they were able to take this issue forward. And sometimes it really had a huge impact in their lives when they had reached Finland and they were able to have rights in different kind of legislation environment.
Thank you. And then Arvind.
I've been hosting an open mic event for non-white people to just be and perform, and just for minorities to be happy. I think there's very little space for that in Finnish society. Everybody feels so much pressure to just get their basics organized. There's not enough place to build community and not enough space to be just happy with each other. So I have been challenging Finnish society by running this underground project with no external funding, where people belonging to ethnic minorities can just be and share their talents with each other and not care about what Finnish society thinks.
Okay, thank you. Klaus.
What have I done? It's not yes, I think I have done my share in helping people with learning the language and the culture and how to adapt to the society in my workplace. I have worked in the restaurant business for over a decade, and by that sense, coming like closer to integrating. Thank you.
Neera.
Well, I do support family things as much as I can. I believe that the major thing that I have done is I'm here. I'm talking to you guys about my point of view and how an immigrant can also not seem like an immigrant and be proudly immigrant and Finnish at the same time. I think that this is something that I don't see quite enough. It's not about adapting to a culture. It's about expressing. I express Finnish culture and my immigrant background at the same time seamlessly. And it's not a minus to me, to my persona. It's something that I can use. It's an extra, it's more. So this is my accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you. Sophie.
Thank you. So I don't work that much in grassroots level, so I haven't done there anything very special yet. But as my work in the Green Parliamentary Group, I of course help our members of parliament to do better politics and to influence to our integration politics as a part of the government. And in this spring, we have worked with integration policy report, and there I've done a lot of work that we could have better like preparatory classes in all school stage, then better chance to get pay subsidy for immigrants to get work. And one point which has been very important is the feminist perspective. We should pay more attention to women and their integration, because we see that women who move to Finland are more high educated women in this group than in Finnish-born men, but still getting employed is very difficult for them. So, but these are still only papers, but I hope in future they are more reality.
Thank you. And then Elia.
Thank you. So I am myself. Can you hear me? Yes, I am myself immigrant. I moved from Lebanon to Finland 1990. I used to work in the social office for the newcomer to Finland. That time we got a big group from Estonia and also from other countries, Somalian. So I was helping those people also. But now my job is to help people how to do a work in Finland as entrepreneur and establish a company and pay taxes for the Helsinki city and for the whole Finland. So in that two-double way, I help immigrant in Finland from the beginning until now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Silva.
Well, if we leave aside the things done in personal life to friends and family who are dear and important, because that's important too, that we carry responsibility there. Before I moved abroad, we were running a dance school with our friends for many, many years, where our idea was to bring free of charge or very cheap dance classes to the schools. So we would go around into schools in different parts of Helsinki offering affordable street dance classes. And what's beautiful about street dance is that it really unites people. So there I very much felt like I was doing not just for immigrants, but people of all kinds of backgrounds, and bringing them together and hosting big dance shows. And doing that was eye-opening and maybe one of the things that have influenced me most. So
thank you.
I'm proud of teenage Silva who spent time doing that.
I know. The next question then.
Yes, there are a lot of interesting questions here in the chat. So the next one is about language issues. So we've talked about people learning Finnish or Swedish here, but we have also people speaking other languages here in Helsinki. Many are multi-languaged already when they arrive. And the question is, how can we better learn from these people and make opportunities for these people to use the skills that they have? And of course, acknowledging the fact that people should not be used for their skills, but also this is a point of view that we should think about. So how would we learn from people speaking with other languages here in Helsinki?
Okay, and short answers, fast answers. We start with Silva.
Well, I think it's a great asset if you speak another language, and I think we can help people really use that skill for the good of their community. There are multiple multinational companies who would probably be very happy. So really helping people to look at the skills that they have and getting that skill set to use in their professional life is one way of doing this.
And then Elia.
Language is important, and it's a tools that we need to use it. So in that sense, in that case, that I think and I believe if we can have more services in many different languages, can help those people, immigrant, to integrate well, but it's not mean that they don't need to speak Finnish. They have to speak Finnish or Swedish. So beside of that services, we should have a good plan also for the integration, how to can learn very fast Finnish to find a job.
Okay, thank you. Arvind and then Neera.
I think once again, the double standards in Finnish society come to the fore in questions like this, because I know white British and American men who've lived here 20 years, not speaking one word of Finnish or Swedish, who go around bragging how great careers they have in the programming industry and in consultancy and whatnot. So Finland is somehow obsessed about languages. I know people are proud about how difficult Finnish is to learn and how Swedish helps you integrate into the Scandinavian super world, but there is a world. This is a tiny country. We're talking about 5.5 million people out of a world of 7 billion people. And every 140 languages, if not more, are spoken in Helsinki. And we continuously seem to complain about how Finland is not able to be competitive, how Finnish companies are not able to keep up. That's because we don't know how to actually benefit from our society. We don't know how to actually go learn from the countries which have actually succeeded, not from Sweden and Denmark which have failed. Go learn from countries which have actually succeeded with their diversity. So again, instead of being so obsessed about whether somebody passed their UKI in 2 years or 20 years or 2 months, I think we really need to be comfortable that not everybody speaks the same language, not everybody shares the same culture, but we can get by. If we are able to sit and listen to an American speak in English for 20 years in our workplace without getting angry, I think we can take care of somebody from Saudi Arabia or Somalia speaking Arabic or Somali without, completely losing it that, oh no, they haven't learned Finnish. I really think we need to take it easy and really reimagine our structures.
Neera.
Thank you. Short answers are really hard for me now because I really have ADHD and it's hard to focus already. 2 hours is my limits. So yes, when we speak about immigrants, we most likely are imagining asylum seekers or some poor person who doesn't have skill set. And then we talk about other people who have moved Finland, English or American or Norwegian or whatever. So basically you get a certain sort of point system based on where you come from and how cool you are and what kind of clothes you have and what you bring to the country already. You spoke, Klaus, I think, was the one who spoke about why we shouldn't have English-speaking daycare or that kind of things. So basically, when you have somebody coming in here for like 5 years, they are still sort of like person who has moved to Finland. And by making it easy for them to take care of their family, to accommodate their family, their kids, it makes it easier for them to accept a job. And then you also have this sort of giving services in people's own mother tongue. It's not accepting that they are never going to learn Finnish. It is about them not being able to learn Finnish tomorrow to get the services. It's sort of like a bit more peaceful, more heartfelt attitude. Yes, that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophie, would you like to comment fast? And Klaus, do you want to answer?
I totally agree what others said. I also think that it's not like this or that you should if you so I'm sorry, I lost my words. Like learning Finnish or Swedish and teaching it at school and giving better education isn't something which is against appreciating people's own languages. I think we should do both, especially if we think about children who might want to have a Finnish or Swedish school path, and they so language is very important for their education, and so that's why we need to support them more to learn Finnish or Swedish. But I don't think it's like it's not that we wouldn't appreciate their own language.
Juhani, and then we go forward.
Yeah, we talk a lot about work-based immigration, but actually the key problem is our labor markets, that they are totally Finnish-speaking. Okay, there are some sectors like the IT sector where you can get a job if you're only English speaker, but otherwise it's not. I have plenty of friends who have spouses who have moved here from abroad, and they are highly educated and they can't get a job in here because they don't speak perfect Finnish. They actually speak Finnish, but since they don't speak perfect Finnish, they can't get a job. And same goes with me. I have a foreign wife as well, and okay, she has some job here at the moment and is educated, but in the future I will see that the only opportunity for us is to move abroad, because I don't see her getting a good job here, like according to her education. So this is the key issue in Finland. And if we really want to be able competitive in the global markets, and if we want to have a work-based immigration and highly skilled people here to work, we really need to focus on that our labor markets become more international.
Okay, thank you. This has been a really, really interesting nearly 2 hours. Now I'm up to the two last questions here. And I hope that you could give short answers so we can end in time. The first question is, what would you like to add to Helsinki integration program for the next following 4 years? 2 short examples. You know that we have a really good comprehensive and big integration program we have had it for this last 4 years. And what would you like to emphasize? What are the 2 most important things? Short answers. And we start now with Juhani, and we go through everyone.
I'm sorry, I had some kind of internet failure here. I couldn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
We have an integration program in Helsinki, and it will be updated now after the elections. So what are the main issues, 2 main issues that you think that should be included in Helsinki integration program for the next 4 years?
Okay. Well, supporting the immigrant population in getting into labor markets, if it's entrepreneurship, then that's and also then getting different kind of jobs, and while they are working, then also having access to occupational education and language education. Those are, I think, the main things I would like to emphasize. And then, of course, I would like to see that for everyone, the preschooling and kindergarten would be free of charge in Helsinki from 4 years or onwards, so people would be able to attend kindergarten and preschool, so that they would be able to speak Finnish when they start their first class of the school.
Thank you. Arvind, what are the 2 main things?
I'm often interested in structural changes, and I think Helsinki's integration programs are completely lacking in that. So the 2 things is compulsory anti-racism training for every city employee. That's 1. and 2, multilingual services in every single toimiala. I don't know what that is in English, like area of operation for the city. So from education to healthcare to urban planning to participatory budgeting. So the only 2 things I want change is nothing more from the immigrants, but 2 things more from the institutions: anti-racist training for everyone and multilingual services everywhere.
Okay, thank you. Silva.
Well, I have one thing, and that's called personalized service provision. So I believe that we have to move towards really centering social services around each individual, which means that you have employment services, education services, healthcare services, childcare services, circled around one human being to see that person holistically. I think that's great from the person's perspective, and I think it's also going to be cost efficient in the long term. So there are good arguments for all political sides here. But what the big problem is that our current government is pulling through the health and social services reform, which is going to move half of these services up to a different administrative level. So the capability and the possibility and the preconditions for doing individualized service provision are being pretty much slashed at the moment because of this reform. And that's the main reason why I'm so strongly opposed to it, is because we're building administrative silos where there shouldn't be administrative silos.
Elia, what are your main issues?
Yes, that's good. Also, a very important question. Like from my job, my work in the Helsinki city, in that economic development department, I am there working, so I know the plan for the next 4 years now. But the decider, they can decide later when the election is over. So, but from my party side, I believe like the human, but a controlled immigration policy, it's the important issue. But Helsinki city, I think I see that they do a lot for the immigrant here, special in the, for example, now we have a new project that what's that for the immigrant, like kuntakokeilu. Now they move all that immigrant from the D office to city, and we can control it. And I am one of that group. So I see that there is a future in Helsinki for immigrant also, as well as for the Finnish, because that kuntakokeilu, it's not only for the immigrants, it's for all Helsinki residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Suvi, and then next Klaus.
So for me, it's important that we would raise this need-based funding for schools, and I think part of the integration program should be that how we use this money. Of course, school can decide, but maybe there could be something what we would do better with that money. Also, guidance for accessing education and employment, that is really important. But most of all, I think integration is a lot about, it's a project. It's always project. We have different kind of projects everywhere doing good things, but we need more holistic way, and not only projects, because people are not projects, they are people, and we need to see them as a whole.
Okay, thank you. Klaus.
Okay, we need to broaden and push forward the project of anonymous recruitation in the public sector and raise awareness for the public sector workers of different cultural and most of all religious traditions. We are a so secular country. We often in Finland, we forget how big part religion actually is in other traditions in the world.
Thank you. Neera.
Quick comment to that, because it was there was also Suvi had a comment about this. Basically, when we talk about immigration, women who come to Finland through immigration, they are often said to be of low, that they don't find jobs, or they don't want jobs and are not educated, and so forth and on. We need to understand that they are in the similar statistics as us are Finnish women from religious groups who have multiple children and so on. So it's not any immigrant issue. It is a choice of women to have families and to stay out of workplace. And this is what I think is the most important thing. I have to admit, I did not read this program, and I'm probably going to, but I don't know what I would add to it because I don't know what is in it. But I really, really strongly feel that we should ask the people who are using the services to be able to give them the services they want, not the ones that we feel they should be using. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now the very last question. And so, do you think it's important to vote for the person or for the vote for the party? I think the Finnish voting system is a bit different than in other countries. So, Silva, should one vote for the party or for the person? Short answers.
Both. You're voting for the future of the party when you're voting for a specific person, but you need to take both into account.
Vera.
Definitely party, because even if I don't get through, the vote still goes to the party, and you might be represented by somebody who is not me. No matter how cool or nice or awesome I am, it's still going to go to the party.
Alien.
Yes, anyhow, in Finland, we vote for one person, one vote. So it's for a person, and plus when the party collect the vote, then it will go automatically for the party. So it will be for the vote.
Okay, Sophie. Now you're muted, I think. Oh. No, I can't hear you. We go to Arvind and we'll come back to you then.
Yeah, I would have said vote for the party in the parliament election, but in the city council election, it often happens that even the same group doesn't agree with everyone. So if you want really radical leftist politics, it's good to vote for the Left Alliance, but if you want really radical politics, vote for me.
Klaus. Klaus, should you vote to a party or for you? You are muted.
I agree with Arvind that in the municipality elections, it's mostly the individual. But I believe that we are people, we are flock animals, we are always stronger in groups. So party.
And Juhani.
I think that you need to take both into account. That I would first vote for a person, a candidate, and then second, I will check the party background, that does it fit into my values and perspectives.
And Sophie. We can't hear you. What happened? Okay.
Can she write the answer for us?
Yeah, you could write the answer in the chat. And then now I would like to thank you all for taking your time and being with us for 2 hours and having a really fast debate, really good. But I really would like to thank you for taking part, to being here for 2 hours with us. And I hope that this recorded debate will go live at some point, or will go on Facebook if it hasn't been there already.